inside the off stump. Oh, he's caught it! I don't believe it! Tom Kohler-Cadmore has caught the most magnificent catch. At short third man, it's the end of Daniel Sams, and Somerset have won the Vitality Blast 2023. They've bowled Essex out for 131.
Hello there, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd, and joining me this evening I've got Head of Digital for Somerset CCC, Ben Warren, and the well-travelled voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson, who I imagine, Gibbo, was just as grateful as the players for that early finish up at Durham yesterday.
Absolutely. I got back at 10 to 11, which was pretty good because I was, reckoning I wouldn't be back till after midnight. But yeah, it was a good performance, and a quick win is a really good win. Definitely.
Back in days when I was Sunday captain at South Devon, the motto was win or lose. Whatever you do, win or lose, just do it fast. So get in the bar for Sunday cricket. I'm rather enjoying Metro Bank Fever as it's that hashtag's taken off this year. It really seems that this group of players, after having played together for 2 or 3 years in this competition, are getting to know each other and have made progress and are looking like they could go quite far in this competition. Shall we start at the beginning then? Last Friday night, it was the Club Cricket Social at the Cooper Associates County Ground. Day-night game. Kent were the visitors. Somerset handed a debut to young Archie Vaughan, who bowled very well for his 6 overs, none for 16. We'll talk about his batting or lack of it in a minute. I thought that was a pretty professional, no frills performance. Really, I don't know if you thought the same, Ben. Do you want to take us away with your thoughts about Kent?
Yeah, it was a good game of cricket. I felt, it was a fairly kind of old-fashioned game of 50-over cricket, but I think we'll probably come on to this. I think that's sort of what the style of cricket that Somerset set up to play, really, with the tools at their disposal. So yeah, I thought Andy Mead obviously steals the headlines, but thought they bowled pretty well. I didn't think Kent played that well. I thought that they were a little bit short with the bat. In particular, they could have scored a lot more runs, and I think a chase, if they got 30 or 40 more, it would have been a really interesting game. But yeah, credit Andy Mead, batted really, really well. Yeah, he's obviously, really experienced and really confident in that format. So yeah, Andy Mead is going to steal the headlines in that one. But I felt it was a really good team performance, and James Rue really sort of stamped his authority in that game. It's really interesting, isn't it? He's 20 years old, and people
feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah,
we're almost pensioning him off, waiting for his brother to come in, aren't we?
It doesn't feel like he's a youngster anymore. He doesn't. He's been obviously given the captaincy of the showcase games, and he feels like one of our key players, and he is one of our key players. So yeah, for to be 20, I think sometimes it's difficult to, sometimes you have to remind yourself that he is still at the same age as a lot of the kind of more inexperienced players.
It's a bit like that with a lot of this one-day cup team. You have to kind of remind yourself, Josh Thomas is only 19, despite he seems like he's been around for 2 or 3 years, Gibbo, and it's, but they seem to be coming to the party, and I guess you, more than anybody, would have been delighted to see a certain Mr. L.P. Goldsworthy make his return to the Cooper Associates County Ground, taking 4 wickets.
And taking 4 wickets last Friday, and of course scoring good runs yesterday. I think the youngsters are improving. I agree with you about James Rue. He's become a senior player, even though he's only 20 years old. I think Jack Leach has made a big difference. The fact that he's got that experience, that he's got that test class there. He just sort of he's the missing link, if you like, in the team that we've had for the last couple of years. He really does make a big difference. Kent weren't very good, as Ben said. I mean, why they allowed Archie Vaughan to bowl, what was it, 6 overs for 16 runs. If he'd been bowling against Australia, they'd have taken him down in the first over. It was a very timid Kent performance. They're having a pretty miserable season in just about every format. Are Kent, but yeah, I think it's I haven't actually asked Paul Tweddle this yet, but my impression is that it's a better team this year than it was last year, and last year was a little bit better than it was the year before. So we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I was going to say, you felt last year that Sean Dixon was looking round thinking, who the hell do I throw the ball to here? And then every game this season, we've had 9 bowling options, 9 genuine bowling options. I think
it's the injuries, isn't it? I think that's one of the huge factors here, is that you've got a squad that have collectively played a lot of Metro Bank cricket in the sort of grand scheme of what the competition is now. You've got a more experienced team, and you've got players that are pushing for selection other formats rather than being handed debuts. There's a lot less debuts being handed out than there was certainly 2 years ago, and even last year. And the fact that they don't have any injuries, touch wood, has meant that they can, there is still competition for places, which is a testament really to how the sort of strength and depth of Somerset's overall squad. If you've lost what you've lost, and there are still people not guaranteed of their place that are, feel like they do deserve a place. So, that what that equates to after 8 games, it's a short tournament, bit of momentum with Somerset at the moment. 2 home games coming up, as I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think that the win against Kent was a really important one to just sort of give that confidence of because obviously last year was more miss than hit, but to win the first one, give them that confidence, was a big boost.
I like the look of our opening bowling attack, at least for the first 2 games. Ned Leonard and Alfie Ogborn. I thought Alfie bowled really well against Kent and at Hampshire as well, to be fair. Figures 8 overs, 3 for 58. It's a little bit harsh on the lad. He got clothed a bit towards the end, but I thought they complemented each other really well. Ned seems to have gone right into Craig's slipstream as that sort of hit the deck type of bowler. I mean, I was watching him at the Utility Bowl on Sunday, and I nearly instinctively went, "Bowling Craig, oh!" because he's just got such a similar action to him now, and he looks like that's the path that he's gone to, is how he's going to approach his bowling, just bang relentlessly on a line and length that's worked so well for Craigo in T20 and 4-day cricket. He went through a little bit of a spell where he lost his radar in his 2nd or 3rd over, but he didn't get a wicket. But 6 overs for 27. If you take off 6 wides and a no ball, 6 overs for 19 is pretty good going. And Alfie Ogborn was moving it both ways and then coming back at the death. I spoke to him at the end of the game. He said his plan is he comes left arm over with a new ball, tries to move it a little bit either way, and then when he comes round the wicket, he can just get a bit more width through with his arm. Helps him just get a bit more pace in and sort of bowl Yorkers and tuck the batsman up. So I thought they bowled really well. Obviously, Lewis Goldsworthy picking up 4 wickets was the standout bowler, but just a really good performance. I mean, Kent never really got away. They started off a little bit fortunate. There were more nicks and a blunt razor in that first power play. Nobody really got away. There was that partnership towards the end where they put on, 68 between Stewart and Kadri. But apart from that, I'd never really thought the game was ever slipping away from us. 260 odd in 50 overs is not a big total at the Cooper Associates County Ground, and it proved not to be. Well, it was a little bit touch and go on the run chase, and all of a sudden, Jack Leach deposited. Who was it into the stands? It was Parkinson, wasn't it? Yeah, deposited Parkinson into the Somerset stand, and then it all seemed to be over in a flash. Boom, boom, boom. Andy Umeed, job done. 140 not out. King of the One Day Cup.
Yeah, it was a really good.
Thank you very much.
It was it was never. I never felt that Kent were favourites in the game, but it was certainly as wickets did fall. Certainly made the game quite interesting, and you just thought, this is going to be a a 1 or a 2 wicketer or a bit of a heartbreak. But yeah, no, Jack Leach came in and played nice. He's got runs in the game at Truro. So he's clearly he's using this opportunity, Jack, to try and strengthen his batting. He's continually trying to improve, and we've seen throughout the summer he's taken some opportunities to bat at the top of the order for the second 11. So it's clearly a big sort of goal of his to make his batting average higher. And he's obviously had his famous moments throughout his career, but I think that innings on Friday wasn't it, wasn't it? Was one of real maturity, and he kind of stood up and said, right, I'm going to be there at the end. A little bit of pressure came on, and took the best risk-free option, hitting with the spin over into the shorter boundary. So took the pressure off Umeed in that circumstance. And again, it won't get the absolute plaudits of Umeed, but he certainly played his part in that run chase, did Jack Leach.
Definitely. And we just need to touch on poor old Archie Vaughan. On debut, run out backing up without facing a ball. The trifecta. What can you say? Well, I'm sure he'll have much more opportunities to come in the future. So moving on to the Utilita Bowl on Sunday morning. I had a glorious drive down there. My last few drives out to Somerset away games have been absolute M5 Friday afternoon nightmares. So it was quite pleasant along the A35 by Dorchester on a glorious Sunday morning. I did have my kit in the car. I did not get the nod, despite being there an hour and a half before the game started, when George Thomas went down with some sort of bug. Due to the limits of the travelling squad, a debut was given to young Joe Hayward. And we'll touch on that a little bit later, because he was slightly thrown into the Lions den towards the end. But that meant Thomas Jr., Josh, went to open with Andy Umeed, and they put on a very well made 85, I thought, because it was quite tricky to score at the start there, Gibbo.
It was, yeah. It was a very good partnership. They both batted well, and got it. Set the platform for what should have been a decent total. But the trouble is, we lost our way in the middle overs, getting bogged down against the spinners, and that I think is the problem with what you might call the Somerset model of 50 over cricket, which is go steadily at the start, build the platform, and then rely on some acceleration. Well, the middle overs you knock it around, then you rely on the acceleration towards the end of the innings, which is fine unless you start losing wickets. Because if you lose wickets, you lose momentum, and we ended up with a total that funnily enough, I was talking to Jack Leach about it yesterday evening, and he said at halftime they thought they'd probably got enough, but it turned out to be 20, 30, 40 runs light.
Yeah. I think it's one of those. It's enough some of the time, but it's not enough all the time.
No. I think that the pitch at the Utilita Bowl, I thought it improved a bit during the course of the day. It got a little bit easier to bat on it. There wasn't so much grip for the spinners, which made Hampshire's task a little bit easier. But that was disappointing result. But Hampshire are a good side, and the other thing that's concerned me, we didn't mention it in the Kent game, is Casey Aldridge's form with the ball. He was poor against.
I've got
Kent.
Casey on the agenda. Don't worry. We will.
Yeah, when he wasn't much
chat
better
about Casey in a bit.
I mean, he bowled better against Hampshire, 1 for 32 and 8. But Josh Davies, the senior quick bowler, but he ought to be number 2 in the quick bowling pecking order for Somerset in this competition. And yesterday he didn't bowl at all.
Yeah, I just think he's having a bit of a dip in form, to be honest. I mean, if you look at the way he got out at Hampshire, he got bowled a lovely waist dive full toss, and it was a short boundary that side towards the nursery ground. And it's one of those, when you're in Nick, you just absolutely twat it and you watch it sail over the boundary and you take the applause of the crowd. But when you're not in form, you think, oh, I better not play a big shot and get out to this, and you end up doing exactly what he did, which is just playing a half-hearted little tap, and it just goes straight into the hands of the fielder, and you sort of look up in the air. And I was watching him coming back, and if there was nobody watching, he would have destroyed his bat on every single step walking up to the pavilion. He was so frustrated with himself, and I sort of saw him briefly after the game just to sort of pass him hello, and he looked just a bit like, just need something to get him going. And that, and when you're out of form, that can be just, you just absolutely middle one. And suddenly you feel, oh, that was nice.
I think
you just go like a tracer bullet through the covers, and then you're off.
Because I think he's got a pretty vital role to play with the bat in the way that Somerset do set up, as Anthony mentioned. Obviously, it is very much reliant on either one of the guys at the top going right the way through, batting to 50 and naturally accelerating from there. But if they do get into a situation where they're 4 or 5 down after sort of 35, 37 overs, which is still what they would consider a good platform, that they don't naturally have that acceleration actually in the squad. And that's probably where potentially over the course of 8 games, that could be something. And again, this isn't a criticism, because these are the only players we've got available. So what they've done is they've built a model that will be competitive, but there isn't a natural finisher in that batting lineup. You compare it to the T20.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe say Dixon, I suppose, would be the one most likely to fit the finisher model, I guess.
Actually, but I think that's that he's almost too good at, he's a more proper player. You want someone to come in and you're sort of 30. How Felix Organ played against Hampshire, he was very positive and scored it over a run of ball from the start. And that's where that opportunity lies. Casey's very capable he's a very capable player, and a bit of confidence, and obviously the bowling is a big part for him as well. But I think that's where they lacked on Sunday, was just that sort of Alfie. I know it was Ned, wasn't it, on
Ned Leonard, yeah.
Yeah, again, I thought their opening 10 overs was really good. I thought Ned was maybe kept on for an over or two.
No, he batted well though too.
He did bat well.
Yeah. He was the only one, wasn't he, that could have put that pressure back on the Hampshire attack.
Yeah, they can both bat, Leonard and Ogborn as well. Neither of them looks like complete mug with a bat.
But it's a long tail at the moment. It was a long tail yesterday. With Casey Aldridge, who's not in form, coming in at 7, and then Davy, Leach, Ogborn, and Castle. It's if you do lose wickets, in as Ben was saying, if you lose wickets in the middle overs, there isn't much to come to to make up for it towards the end. This is thinking out loud, but I just wonder whether you might swap the Thomases around and have Josh opening the innings with Andy Umeed, and have George, who's probably the best striker of the ball in that Somerset. So have him coming in at 7 to to guide the tail. And get those late runs in the same way that Jamie Smith does for England.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, because when that partnership, or that opening partnership between George Thomas and Andy Umeed sort of came together, was it first time last year, or was it in 2022? Oh well, whenever it was Andy Umeed was very much the sort of the Atherton style 50 over player, if you like. He was sort of perceived to be, who would, just bat through. He would be the kind of the anchor, and Thomas was the one who would get on with it. But now Umeed's kind of discovered this. He's had this sort of white ball rebirth and can take on that sort of striker's role. And then Thomas kind of sits in his slipstream, and as we saw on Sunday, can sort of play for that long game. Then they want him. Umeed's always taken on the smasher role, if you like. And then that leaves Thomas to, as you say, Gibbo. It wouldn't be the worst idea.
Well,
whether they'll do it or not.
I just think we need a bit more firepower down the order at the moment. And as Ben also said, these are the only players we've got. It isn't we've got half a dozen hard-hitting batsmen sitting around in the pavilion waiting for their chances. This is it. So we need to make the best use of what we got.
Could not agree more. Should we talk about poor old Joe Hayward then? I think the equation was 45 runs, something like that, off 8 overs when Sean Dixon gave him the ball, and I think his first 3 or 4 went for 4 and ended up going for 20. Given the circumstances, would it have been acceptable to not give him a bowl? I know it's his debut, but it's really unusual circumstances where a batter's gone down and you've literally just got to backfill him with whoever's in the squad. And the way that they plan their 50 overs is they will have, right, Ned and Alfie, you'll do 10 up top, or, do the first 10 up top, then Jack will bowl this, and then Lewis, blah, blah, blah. And then they can obviously change those. But then if you're bringing in another bowler into that equation, I just think it may have been better for the lad just to have that explained to him. And I'm sure he would have been perfectly fine with it. And I'd rather come home from the Aegeus Bowl with figures of none for none than 1-0, 20-0.
Yeah, I guess it probably was that explained to him he's unlikely to get a bowl. I mean, I guess the thinking is that there would be literally no analysis on this guy.
Yeah, potentially.
I think that we're looking at kind of a situation now where most county analysts have got pretty in-depth footage of most people, and yet there's, you're in last chance saloon territory in terms of come on, grab me a wicket. Maybe I'd like the Hampshire batters probably had no idea.
If he picks up 2 for 7 off that over, Dixon's an absolute genius. So yeah.
I thought it. I wasn't there, so it's difficult to comment fully, but it felt like that it was a last chance sort of. Yeah. Let's just see, because they're going to have no idea what this guy bowls unless they were intently watching the live stream of the game at Truro on, which I doubt. But yeah, that would be my take, is that they've just gone, it's a surprise package, let's just see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was the thinking. It just didn't work out. Yeah. I don't think they were being deliberately cruel.
Oh no.
It ended up being pretty cruel on Joe Hayward.
Yeah. I mean, just when that first ball went for 4, I thought, oh no, this is not going to end well. But as say, if he takes a couple of wickets, then it's a master stroke of captaincy. Oh, I've just set an alarm, Ben. This is to remind me that an hour ago, it may have been you, but whoever was running the club's admin Twitter account said to Andy Cleve that the Riley Meredith situation is changing on an almost hourly basis. So that was exactly an hour ago. So what's the update on Riley Meredith? If you aren't aware of what's going on, this has probably changed by the time you've listened to this, listener, because it's probably going to be another hour by the time we finish and I get this downloaded and uploaded. Riley Meredith is at Trent Rockets as a cover for Joe Root. Joe Root's now back, but Riley Meredith is still nowhere to be seen. So what's the latest, Ben? What's happened in the last hour?
Well, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, he's obviously I can confirm he is in Taunton, but there are lots of chains. There are lots of animals in the food chain, and we're not the biggest animal. Would that explain?
I think a dragon can eat
another 100 franchise. In other words,
I think a dragon
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Or it's going to the.
But it's just I think it's just one of those situations that it's not for us to announce things that aren't our it's not our things. He is our player, but he's not our player. There are several
if he's under contract, I mean the 100 can take him because that's an ECB thing. But if he's contracted to Somerset,
depends what his contract says. Depends what his contract says.
I suppose if he's got a multi-million-dollar CPL deal,
these are fairly unique circumstances. It's not how it. He is our player, but he's also. It's just a complex situation.
This is like QI, isn't it? We're trying to work out what the non-obvious answer is. We all
want to see him play. I think we all want to see him play.
I don't think we're going to.
But yeah, it's we unfortunately aren't it isn't our story to tell at the moment. So
I think if he was going to play for us, he would be playing tomorrow. But he ain't. But he is, as Ben says, he is in Taunton. Jack Leach told me that yesterday. So,
okay.
No, it wasn't Jack. It was Shane Berger chatting to him. But no, I mean, that's life these days.
The plot thickens. What Australia haven't got anything coming up at the moment, have they? This isn't like when Miggy P's off to the South African Test or the West Indies. I don't think the Australians got anything coming up, have they? No, who knows?
So.
Oh well, let's not speculate and make poor old Ben kind of squirm and shit. I'm sure the truth will out when the truth will out. Yeah. Right. Well, so you mentioned Durham there briefly, Gibbo, and a much better performance and a much better result than our previous trip to Chester Street in 2024, running out winners by 133 in the end. George Thomas back made 48. Andy Mead made a duck. I don't think that's necessarily too bad a thing for Andy Mead to get a naught and us win the game, obviously. Just maybe a little reminder from Mother Cricket.
I was just going through his remarkable statistics, how many...
Oh, you were? I was listening, Gibbo, yeah. And then if there was ever a commentator's curse, that was it. Cheers.
Well, I felt I had a feeling he was going to get out early on. So I thought, and Steve Pittard had done all these stats for me about Andy and me. So I thought I'd better get them in before and of course he was out in the second over. So I just managed to get some of them in. But it turned out not to be the biggest disaster ever, because George Thomas and Lewis Goldsworthy batted very well. They had quite a lot of luck, it has to be said. There were a lot of inside edges.
George was dropped off a no he's caught off a no ball, wasn't he?
He was caught off a no ball, and because it wasn't a particularly easy pitch. There was a little bit of seam movement for the quick bowlers early on, and as the day wore on, it got a bit stickier, and Jack Leach bowled really, really well on it. It's a pitch that suited him. He said that he'd like to roll it up and take it around with him. But he bowled beautifully, and he as I said earlier on, he's made a really big difference. And at half time, I wasn't sure whether 241 was enough, but I've had a sort of feeling that it would take a lot of getting if we bowled well, and we did bowl well.
Yeah,
they didn't bat very well, and we got rid of their big guns, Alex Lees and Ackerman and Borthwick, relatively cheaply, and Jack Leach bowled as well as I've seen him bowl all season. He bowled, he's a much better bowler. I said this in the commentary, when he's bowling to take wickets rather than bowling to contain.
Yeah, he was bowling
that's his natural way of bowling. He's not a container.
His attacking line, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was bouncing around and really enjoying it. And he told me afterwards how much he enjoys playing 50 over cricket, which he's played very little of over during the course of his career, because he's never really been rated as a white ball bowler. I can't understand why. Well, probably because he is a wicket taking bowler rather than a containing bowler. But no, he bowled absolutely beautifully, and it was great to see him as happy as he was at the end in what was overall a very good team performance.
If anyone deserves to enjoy their cricket, it is Matthew Jack Leach. Yeah. Lewis Goldsworthy's 93 reminded me of that innings he played up at Surrey in the One Day Cup a couple of years ago. Well, I don't think he got 100. He was in the 90s again, but he just anchored the innings. And going back to what you were saying about the pitch, Gavin, 93 of 134. No sixes in our. Was it no sixes in either innings? It was no sixes in either innings, which in 50 over cricket these days is a very, very rare thing. But I just thought, Goldsworthy just showed that the class and temperament he's got to play that anchor role.
His innings got better as it went along.
Yeah,
he was a bit sketchy at the start, but the longer it went on, the more assured he became, and he really anchored the innings really, really well, and the others could play around him. And it was a top class performance.
One of the things that were quite interesting about the game, I wasn't there again, but we get the quotes come through from the post-match press conferences that Anthony like be part of. And we also got the away teams quote sent through, and it was really interesting. I don't know if anyone picked up on what Alex Lees said publicly after the game yesterday. He was very critical of the pitch.
Was he critical about his LBW as well? Because that was a little bit iffy too. I thought that was sneaking down, but oh well.
Well, he went as far as to saying whoever won the toss won the game, and said if they played on a similar pitch on the next home game, that if they basically won the toss, whoever won the toss would win the game again.
No, I don't think it was that bad.
It was fair.
I know. I was 400 miles away watching it on a live stream while I was working, but
it was fairly
really, really well because they got to. I mean, what did they get? Yeah, 40. They got to 40 without loss, and I think they just ran into Jack Leach bowling absolutely brilliantly.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's just rare that you see, very rare that you see that come out in the sort of the public, like quotations that come from captains in particular.
Captain criticising his own pitch. It is quite rare. Yeah,
it's very rare that they go that heavy.
Yeah, it got more difficult as they went on. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, if it was a complete lottery,
we bowled Durham. We bowled better spin than Durham did. Drissel is not a great off spinner. Ackerman was economical, but not particularly. He doesn't spin it. He doesn't turn it much. Doesn't give it much of it. And Jack Leach was in a different class to the pair of them.
Yeah, I think that it was it wasn't exactly close. We won 133 runs, so it wasn't exactly kind of again, which was decided on fine margins.
We had some. The difference was we had Lewis Goldsworthy who knuckled down and got a really good, not an ugly 90, but a really determined and effective 90, and we've got an international spin bowler. An absolutely class international spin bowler in our ranks who had bowled probably the best he's bowled this season.
And we had the rub of the green as well in terms of umpiring decisions. And the caught off a no ball and what have you. I mean, the Alex Lees LBW was.
Well, they all even themselves out in the end. You can't really answer that.
No,
Charlie Castle, the Scottish debutant or Scottish international, made his Somerset debut. That was a surprise. I didn't think we'd be bringing anybody in, but with the schedule, as you say, Ben, 8 games in a pretty short space of time, it probably makes sense to have some backup bowling. He only bowled 3 overs for 9. I was a little bit taken aback that he'd taken James Hildreth's number. Now, I don't know. We're not quite as serious about shirt numbers as they are in like American sports where they go retiring and things, but I don't know, it just felt a little bit odd to me seeing somebody else wearing 25 after Hildy's worn it for so many years.
Well, I don't actually think he was in Taunton today. So the players got back at 20 past midnight last night, which they were all delighted about because, like Anthony was saying, they weren't expecting to be back anywhere near that time. So,
because Zinc was still open, is that it, or they just want to get home?
But we all met Charlie today, so on the basis that we probably think that was the first time he'd actually been to the grounds. So
so you came down from Scotland straight to Durham, and then that
I believe so. Yeah.
It'd be pretty stupid to come all the way down from Scotland down to Taunton and say hi and jump on a coach and go halfway back.
No, he must have been down to Taunton because Harry Everett interviewed him, didn't he?
No, Sam did it at the ground.
Sam, was it? Oh, that was at the ground, was it?
He did it from Durham,
right. Yeah. I couldn't. I didn't see him. I couldn't really form any sort of opinion. He wasn't particularly quick. He's lively,
very Australian.
Yeah.
Yes. Another authentic Aberdonian in the Somerset bowling ranks.
But I presume they were just resting Ned Leonard. That was the thinking.
Yeah, he was. I saw him. He came on as a sub fielder, pretty much at the start of their.
I saw him at the close, and he looked perfectly fit and well.
Yeah, so it's just a rotation thing. So you were saying about meeting Charlie Castle at the ground, Ben. Is he so decent guy? Is he?
Yeah, I mean, he just Sarge normally when we sign new players, he normally comes around and introduces them to different departments. So everyone from the ticketing team to the finance, HR just goes and does a tour of the ground with the players. So
don't introduce him to the stewards because they'll probably want to search him and stop him coming in a gate. And you know the one I mean, don't you? You all know the one I mean. If you're listening, Lister, you know the one I mean, don't you? Him, yeah, that one, him.
How long is he with us for, Ben? How long is he with us for?
I believe it's for the entirety of Somerset's progression in this competition. I think. So yeah, I mean, the competition's it sort of rolls into the quarters or playoffs and semis and final fairly quickly, doesn't it? After the conclusion of the group stage games. So, yeah, good opportunity for him. I mean, again, it's probably something. It sounds like based on the what I hear is it was fairly kind of like sort of opportunistic sort of sign in. So yeah, sometimes these things can kick on people's careers and things.
He's not played in county cricket before, has he? Just played club cricket in Scotland and ODIs. It's funny that, isn't it? That you just come out of club cricket into ODI cricket and then back down, if you like, into county cricket. So yeah, I mean, obviously, he'll be keen to. This is probably I know he's played one day cricket, but sort of county cricket is a bigger shop window for him, if you like. And if he does have a decent one day cup, could find himself on a contract offer, not necessarily from Somerset, but if he has a day out against somebody, who knows? Speaking of contract news, Emilio Gay is leaving Northamptonshire at the end of this season. His destination is TBD. Would you have him? Could we sign yet another opening batsman who ends up batting in the middle order because he doesn't score any runs, one or two?
Well, I think if you went to a well-known cricket website that ends in info, you might not see his is it as TBD. There's a very strong rumor that he's heading to where Anthony was yesterday.
Right. Durham.
Well, they could do
that's a fairly well-informed source, I would imagine. It's the cricket info.
I mean, if I
think we could do without another flighty opener.
I was just going to say, if we did sign him, it was announced. So Somerset signed Emilio Gay, you'd be like, oh, why have we signed him? We've got Lewis Goldsworthy, we got this, that, the other. So, what is our out of contract list? Goldsworthy, Banton, Ned Leonard, Sonny Baker,
George Thomas
as well. So. I mean, me and you were talking about Sonny Baker in the way on the car back from Cardiff the other night, weren't we, Ben? Do you know? I nearly just thought, well, I've had the dash cam on with the audio, so while they're doing a podcast about that debacle at the ball, I might have made that joke last week, so apologies if I repeated it. But yeah, is he actually injured? Because I've only had one guy on Twitter has said that Sonny Baker's not playing because he's injured. Not had any other confirmation. Is he definitely crook or?
I've not seen him, and it's not something that, as far as we're concerned, he's with the 100. So we've not been told, to my knowledge, that he's officially not part of that tournament anymore. So yeah, it's again, it's not our news to give unless it's something that's a serious thing that we'd want to communicate with the 100 team over, but. Yeah, we shall see on that one.
The 100 does not give county fans a lot of reasons to like it, does it? When we're sat here with this kind of official secrets act style of, oh, is this guy injured? What's happening with this guy? And then you've got, our best players sat not playing 3 or 4 games, and that rule existing that they can come back and play county cricket in the Metrobank One Day Cup if they want. But it's up to the discretion of the 100 franchise, who are going to say, no, why would I still pay you? And then you might get injured. So I'm not going to let you go back to your county. Sorry. Sit there and continue to get splinters in your ass, Mr. Green, Mr. Van der Merwe, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's the injury. That is the challenge, isn't it? There are multiple challenges. That is one of them. The fact that if they were to come back, play Metrobank cricket, get injured.
I know. If they were playing for their actual county, I mean, if Ben Green, who's got What affiliation has Ben Green got to Somerset? I mean, for God's sake, it's ridiculous. He should be kept in Cottonwool for Welsh Fire, a team that he's played all of half a dozen games for.
Well, just remember who the head coach of Welsh Fire is.
Well, that's another topic for discussion.
Whose decision it would be as to whether to release Ben Green, presumably. But we won't.
Oh, another fantastic run fest in the 100 tonight. Welsh Fire 94 for 9, London Spirit 96 for 7.
Yeah, Tom Curler-Cadmore. Not that I've really been following the 100, I must admit, but Tom Curler-Cadmore still doesn't really have a massively good time of it. From what
Didn't Dan Worrell bowl 10 dot balls at him at the start of today's game? I think I saw. Abel 12 or 16. They're ruining Tom Abel as well. Tom Abel was scoring buckets of runs in the T20, buckets of runs in the Championship, and he can't hit it off the square in that other bloody competition. Stop ruining the Somerset's best players. Oh, Matt Henry's playing for Welsh Fire now, is he?
Yeah, it's all to do with the ball, I'm told. You know,
Really?
They've put an extra layer of lacquer on it or something, and it's offering the bowlers a lot more.
I'm sure the educated fans of the 100 will appreciate that tidbit there, Gibbo.
To be fair, I mean, we've sat here, almost literally sat here and criticised white ball cricket for being too batsman friendly. You know, if the ball sort of brings the balance back a bit more towards the bowlers, we shouldn't really be complaining.
No, but I think you need you need all sorts of spectrums in a
but you don't want what was happening in the IPL. You know,
oh God, no, yeah, but that was
getting 250 off,
the impact
260, 270 off 20 overs. I mean, so you know, if they have found a white ball that actually gives the bowler a bit more, he can do a bit more with it, and it keeps his hardness for a bit longer. Then why not? It just will give that 20 over cricket a bit more balance, which it needs.
Stop defending the 100, Anthony. Matt Henry's in the.
I'm not defending the 100.
I know you're not.
But the other thing you have to say, I don't know if Ben's seen this, but Lancashire have written a letter to their members.
Oh, I've seen that. That's the whole series of podcasts what they've written, and a bit like the Richard Gould thing as well. Did you catch up with that interview I told you about? Was it Sunday, the Richard Gould one?
I saw him being interviewed by Hugh. No, I haven't seen that one. In today's cricket, he's been interviewed, but he's talking. Hugh Turberville interviewed him, and basically saying that the 100's a fact of life. It's going to stay. We're going to expand it by two teams in 2029, and stop whinging and get on with it. And we're going to sell it in the autumn for as much as we can get.
Yeah,
and the counties are in favour of that.
Wow,
including Somerset.
There's been in favour of it, and there's but they were in favour of this 100, which was going to bring a consistent stream of revenue in, and wasn't going to all of a sudden be owned lock stock by the TMGs, and the non-TMGs would just get the the scraps, the leftovers at the dinner table.
Well, it's quite big money. We're talking millions.
I know that, but if it's millions, I feel like we're going over our ground. But my position on this is, if the 100's so good and it's going to make so much money, why are you selling it? Why not keep it and then distribute all this income to grassroots and national counties and first-class counties and everybody, and we'll all make millions off this fantastic competition called the 100 for years to come.
That's more or less if Richard Gould was here, that he'd say that that's more or less what they are doing.
Yeah, but they're not, because they're selling it.
If
you've got a business, if you've got a business, Gibbo, that's making you £1 million a year, and you sell half of it, you get 500 grand. Oh, but you only make 500 grand a year for the rest of your life. So
yeah, but the ECB is not a business. It's not a profit-making organisation. It exists to support the game of cricket, and if by selling off 49% of the 100, it can inject millions and millions of pounds into cricket at every level, I don't see how we can possibly complain.
Yeah, but then if you are an investor putting this money in, you want to get a return on it. So if you can get a return on it as an investor,
That's up to the investors. That's not the ECB's concern. The ECB will
mean.
put it
If
on the
I'm an
market.
investor and I'm buying 100 franchise for 100 million quid, I'm going to want to turn that into 120 million quid in 10 years' time. So if Mr. Investor can turn it into 120 million quid, why can't the ECB, at a cost of nothing, because they already own it, make 120 million quid?
Equipped to do it. It is not a business. It's a sporting organisation.
I know, exactly. So for the millions that they're going to of equity they're going to give away in the 100, why don't they set up? I don't know.
They're not giving it away; they're selling it.
Well, they're selling it away. Yeah, but they are. Yeah, but you're selling its earning. You're giving away its continual earning potential. So why don't they set up 100 franchise management sports marketing limited, which does what the investors would do, and all that revenue stays within the ECB and within the pyramid of English cricket. Are you getting deja vu, listener? Because I know I am. We need to get Don back on. I need to get back in touch with Toppers, and we'll have this conversation yet again. Right. Have we got anything more to talk about on the One Day Cup? Just one final point I want to make on these opening batch of One Day Cup games. I feel like everybody's contributed at some stage, which is always really good for team morale. So yeah, happy, not worried. Looking forward to the rest of the competition.
2 home games coming up now. Tomorrow
Beer
and
festival
Sunday.
tomorrow night. Please drink responsibly.
Yep, family day on Sunday. So 2 big days for the club, which is I hope the weather forecast is pretty good. So
and with the iguanas coming back and the big tortoise.
Yeah.
Love him.
It's still coming back. So yeah, I mean it's a really good opportunity to kind of if they can win these 2 home games, there'll be 4 wins and 1 loss.
Lancashire are bottom, Derbyshire are top. So read into that what you will.
Lancashire are dangerous, though, aren't they? If you look at their squad, it's a powerful squad.
Yeah, they've got 2 overseas. Obviously, they got Aventicashire, who is an international player. They've got a strong.
They've got Balderson, Bohannon. There's some good players in there.
Tom Bailey's still right in that squad, so they don't look like a squad that should have lost all their games.
No.
So not that sport works like this, but you wouldn't be surprised if they came and put in a real performance on the morrow and made it difficult for Somerset. But
I think we've got a better chance against Derbyshire than we have against Lancashire. Of the 2, I think the Derbyshire game is the better bet. But I think the interesting thing about this year's Metro Bank One Day Cup is that anyone, certainly in our group, can beat anybody else, and 4 wins might be enough to get through to the quarterfinals because of that, because nobody's running away with it.
How does it work again? It's not quarterfinals in the traditional sense.
The winner goes straight through to the group winner goes straight through to the semi-final.
Yeah.
And the second and third play off against each other. So there are 2 quarterfinals, second against third and third against second, to go through to the semi-finals. Is that right, Ben? I get mixed up.
Yeah, if you get top, you get a home semi.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you get second, you get a home quarter and away semi. And if you get third, you're away and away. So you only have a stage 1 knockout game. But if you finish third, you would be playing away for the chance to go away again. Yeah. So yeah, probably you kind of either want to finish third or first. I think finishing second, having to put on a home game in. I think the turnaround something stupid like 3 or 4 days.
It is
4 days.
Yeah, so the last group game is on
the Sunday and the quarterfinals on Thursday.
Friday.
How many people, if it was Sunday night, that in theory, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but in theory, if Somerset were to qualify on that Sunday evening, it would potentially give you 3 days of trying to get people to come to a quarterfinal knockout game, which we will see. I see lots of things to happen before that could happen, but someone's going to be some poor ticketing teams are going to have to turn this around. So
yeah, just to maybe throw span on the works as well. England Lions are playing Sri Lankan men at New Road, so that could potentially throw a spanner in the works as well if we're to get a home game. Yeah, so it's Friday actually, the quarterfinals / playoff, whatever you want to call it, and then the semi-finals on the Sunday, and the Friday is in Super September. Right, let's fire through some listeners' questions then. Bakers has asked, I think Bakers probably is not a regular listener to the podcast, because one of his questions is, why can't we produce more turning pitches like previously years to support both Bashir and Leach in the team? But one thing he says, can Somerset afford to lose Shoaib Bashir? I don't think it's whether a case of we can afford to lose him. I think we'll have to play whichever spinner we feel is the best spinner available to us at the time. I'm sure there'll be a contract on the table for Shoaib Bashir in end of next year, is it, Ben? I think
so, yeah.
Whenever it is.
He signed a 3-year contract last year, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. But whenever it is, I'm sure there'll be one on the table. And I'm sure, obviously, offers will be.
In the meantime, we ought to be producing spinning pitches so that we can play both of them.
No, don't produce spinning pitches, Gibbo. We're in danger of winning the championship if we do that.
No, quite. Yeah.
Am I right in saying that they've never played together? I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying they've still never played together.
Not for England. They played together for. No, they wouldn't have played together for England, have they?
They haven't played together for Somerset.
Which is a pretty remarkable, you'd like to think at some stage, still during the end of between now and the end of the season, they will do that. But that's pretty remarkable. They've never taken to the field together, despite all of the media noise around them and the fact that what everyone's been saying. So, yeah, I mean, the fact they've never played a game together.
Is Bash going to be about for the One Day Cup at all? Or is he totally rested for that tournament?
I think
because he's not centrally contracted, is he?
I don't know.
Again, it's not.
I can't imagine England are going to release him for the one day cup.
Well, that's the point. They can't. He's not centrally contracted.
Anyway, I'm not sure he'd get into the One Day Cup side because how many spinners have we got already?
5.
We've got 4 of them. How many did you want?
No, we got 5. We got Umeed, Goldsworthy, Thomas, Vaughan, and Leach.
Yeah.
Make it 6. Just pull 50 overs a spin. Don't bother rolling the pitch or anything. Use Friday's pitch on Sunday and play them all. Bakers goes on. Do we need to be protesting more against the 100 and the easy blues plans for the future? I think we all need to be making our voices heard on this matter. Moving on. Do we have any more questions that we haven't probably discussed before? One from Rob Reed. Oh, it's just for me. Will it matter to you, Shep? Oh, this is only coming 4 minutes ago. Will it matter to me if Somerset put out a team of non-homegrown players or a full 11 of independent school players, regardless if they were successful or non-successful? Does it matter what Somerset are about, genuinely interested? I think one of the slight myths about the public school players is a lot of them are on scholarships. They aren't all mummy and daddy earning millions of pounds in the city, shoveling young Johnny off to Millfield or whatever to board because they are absolutely minted. There are quite a few of the Somerset side are scholarships to public schools, so it is slightly more meritocratic than it appears to be on the surface.
I do agree with him. We should be a side of West Country cricketers predominantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way it's always been. It's West Country homegrown players augmented by brilliant overseas players who get kidnapped by the 100.
Yeah, well.
I feel like there was another good question somewhere, but we
should be growing our own cricketers, not buying them in from elsewhere.
Absolutely. But I think a healthy mix. But I think predominantly, where we are at the moment is a good mix. If we bought Dixon, Calder Canmore, Umeed, so you're never going to be like Yorkshire and grow or like Yorkshire were back in the day when it was only Yorkshire-born players could play for them.
No, but we need to look at what Surrey are doing and take a leaf out of it.
Surrey, frustratingly annoying that Surrey do things the right way and they win cricket matches.
Yep.
have we got any other business? I can't think of anything. We're ticking over towards an hour.
Just one AOB from me. We've just gone out on sale with Joel Garner's coming back to.
21st of August.
21st of August.
Well, I'm going to go. It's 21st of August. I've not got anything in front of me. 21st of August. £25 for members if you buy before the 10th of August.
Cool.
And £30 afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. You can tell I've spent too much time on Twitter all day. I'll go then. £30 for non-members.
Yeah, and it includes a curry. So hopefully a good one for Somerset members to come down. Joel was in the country with the West Indies, so was.
They weren't that short of bowling, were they?
Yeah. So it'd be great to see him back at Taunton, and should be a great evening if people want to come and support.
Yeah, definitely. What date was that again?
Is Spencer interviewing him?
We will have Peter Trigo will be there. Brian Rose will be there. Vic Marks, we're hoping to be there as well, and Spencer will be there too. So it should
be there too.
So
I love
not his land from
quite put him in the pantheon of Somerset legends, like Rose and Trigo and Marks. Maybe Bishop, maybe not.
But no one does it quite like Spencer. So absolutely, he'll be there, no doubt.
Got any new jokes, or do we have all the same ones? Fire alarm joke that we have every AGM and members do. Sorry, what day was that again, Ben?
21st, Wednesday the 21st.
21st. That is the day before we are away at Edgbaston.
It is.
So you won't be able to go, Gibbo. You'll be staying in the Birmingham Hilton. The student village is where you normally stay.
I'll be staying in where I always stay, which is the Plough and Harrow on Hagley Road, which is only about a mile and a half from Edgbaston.
There you are, Gibbo Groupies. That's where he's going to be on the 21st. Fantastic. I'll get anything else? Anything from yourself, Gibbo?
No, that's fine. I'll see you tomorrow.
Good. No, you won't. I've got a family meal tomorrow. It's delay. Yeah, my dad's 70th birthday was on the day I had my heart operation, so it was kind of delayed till tomorrow, and it is mother-in-law's birthday on the Sunday as well. So, despite my best efforts and recommendations that the birthday meal should be a carvery in the county room during the match, I was unfortunately poo-pooed. So I will not be at either Lancashire or Derbyshire, which is entirely frustrating, but I will be at Lord's next Sunday, not at Northampton, no.
Right.
So enjoy the game, guys. I'll be trying to keep on the live stream as much as I can. Unfortunately, I can't tell you where I'm going because I think my dad might listen to the podcast or not, and it's a surprise where we're going tomorrow night. So
we'll have a good time.
It should be fun. Okay, right. Enjoy Somerset over the weekend. I'm very jealous, and we'll catch up next week.